Hello and welcome to Classical Guitar Tips Part 3. We'll be covering the left hand position in the classical style. The goal of the left hand is to quickly move your fingers to the right place without bumping around. This is not as easy as it sounds. This video will break down the mechanics of the left hand, drawing attention to issues that could cause problems in your playing. Special thanks to Einar Fagerheim, a Tamani instructor and physical therapist who kindly reviewed the anatomical content in this film. Before we begin, make sure your guitar is the right size. Guitars come most often in half, 3/4, and full sizes, and be sure your guitar is appropriate for you. What are we really looking at when we see the left hand? Guitarists often have this mental picture, taken from the listener's standpoint. The strings and frets appear as a grid, the hand is very close and detailed. We would be so fortunate to see the left hand from this angle, but we don't. This is what the hand really looks like from the standpoint of a professional guitarist playing. You see the top of the neck, you can see the 6th string, the tops of the frets, the thumb, the fingertips, and the shape of the hand. What we don't see are the individual strings. There is a healthy distance from the hand, which means that the posture is good. A beginner's left hand often looks like this. The guitar is tilted upward, making it harder to play. We see a grid, but not the same identifiable grid we imagined earlier. The hand is closer, cradling the guitar neck. The eyes are trying to control everything to the detriment of many things. I can imagine that the body of this guitarist is rigid and slumping. Any aspect of playing outside the area of focus will suffer. The shifting will be bad, and it'll be hard to monitor the right hand or look at the music stand. Our eyes are in fact important, but we need to know what we are seeing. Some things need to be relegated to our sense of touch. And for that, we need stabilization, referencing, we need to know how things work, and we need to know how it feels when things are working correctly. If you are familiar with my film about the right hand, you will notice a lot of similarities in this film. Let's begin by taking a look at our posture. We support the guitar with a footstool or other device so that the guitar can be placed in an optimal playing position. We sit upright with our head high, the spine is elongated, our shoulders are centered and relaxed. They should be able to swing loosely in either direction. In my film about the right hand, I demonstrated the wave, bow, wave routine that establishes a sitting position supported by 4 parts of the body. If you're having a hard time finding a good sitting position, I suggest you take a look at that film. I'm doing a little test right now to see that my body is centered. I bring one arm into playing position while bringing the other one down. I shake out the relaxed arm, and then I repeat the process. The guitar is always supported by 4 parts of the body. That 4th point alternates between my right forearm and my left hand. Be aware that even the slightest slouch could mean that you are leaning on the guitar or using the wrong muscles to support your back. The angle of the guitar. Tilting the guitar is a bad idea, but angling the guitar upward is a good one. As a basic guideline, the head of the guitar should be around the same height as your head. We do this because the angle affects the mobility of the right shoulder and also the entire posture. Raising the head of the guitar lowers the guitar on the right side, allowing the shoulder to loosen. Often the head goes down, which means that the shoulder on the right side gets cramped. This is not good. You should feel the unhindered weight of both shoulders. Here I'm using my modified Murata guitar support. As you can see, the angle of the guitar is greater than when I was demonstrating with a footstool. The head of the guitar is actually higher. This solution feels best for me personally, feels organic, and gives my right shoulder even more mobility. Notice how low my right shoulder sits. It's worth your time finding a guitar support that works best for you. We initiate and control horizontal motions on the neck with the left arm. Our arm also supplies the weight we need to hold down strings, and it generates our vibrato. So, how do we use the left arm? Here's an example. First, we set up. Put your 4 fingertips on the 6th string, beginning with the 1st fret. Don't worry about their exact placement, just make sure they line up well on the string. Pretend your arm is like a hammock suspended at 2 points, one point being the hand and the other being the shoulder. Adding arm weight to the neck can cause many problems, and we tend to compensate by doing a number of bad things. We could A. Mess up the alignment of our posture, B. Create a pinching reflex between the forefinger and the thumb, and C. Use the right arm as a clamp to hold the guitar in place. What we need to do is use the muscles in the left shoulder to support and stabilize the arm. These muscles include the deltoid, the trapezius, all the muscles that support the rotator cuff, and the shoulder blade muscle called the serratus anterior. Scan over these muscles in your back and shoulder. We want to use the right muscles correctly and avoid any compensation. Often we think of muscles being turned on or off, flexing or relaxing, but in this case, we use our muscles to stabilize. They are malleable and work at a low level of intensity. The elbow hangs low and your wrist is straight. Swing the arm back and forth, initiated by the shoulder side, not the wrist side. The rocking of the arm sends a signal to different groups of muscles at different times. Push forward and back from the shoulder. If you notice, the string is pressed down. The arm supplies the necessary weight to hold down strings. You access by curving the finger inward and creating the necessary counterpressure to stabilize the hand. Now, transfer your arm weight into just one finger, your pointer finger, while maintaining the form of the hand and the neck angle. Feel the weight drain into that one finger, and feel how easy it is to release and move the other fingers. Now we will slide downward towards the 9th fret. Release a tiny bit of pressure between the 1st finger and the thumb, but don't lose contact with the string. Allow the weight of the arm to slide the finger to the 9th fret. Gravity and release are the two components needed to move down the neck. Do this a few times, watch how the arm mechanics work, how the angle of your hand changes depending on where you are on the fretboard. The upward slide has a few parts to it. The motion is initiated by the forearm and rotator cuff while the arm remains at the side of the body. Once you reach about halfway, the arm disengages and the supporting shoulder muscles become active. 3/4 of the way up, your need for stabilization and support increases as you make an upward push towards first position. Practice this exercise with any finger or any combination of fingers on the 6th string. Try to feel the constant presence of weight, the shoulder stabilizing, the amount of finger pressure needed to stay in position, the amount of finger pressure needed to release into another position. When you've mastered this routine, practice it with all 4 fingers on the 6th string. Placing so many reference points on one string will ensure that the arm motion is smooth and correct. If your fingers jump off the string, that may be an indication that the mechanics need some refining. The fretboard is a long, flat surface. Our goal with the left hand is to make our curvy hand perform well on that surface. Let's take a look at both hands. In the session about the right hand, we imagine holding a ball in the palm of the hand. Our fingers stretch downward to meet the surface of the table. The thumb stays to the side of the fingers and is not supported by the pinching muscle. The side of the thumb touches the table. The left hand shape is identical, minus one tiny detail. The thumb wraps underneath the ball. The muscle we use to stabilize the thumb is the one that opposes our fingers, the opponens pollicis. We avoid the pinching muscle altogether and give the opposing muscle stabilizing strength, just enough strength to maintain the form of the hand. Locate this muscle on your hand. Finger movements in both hands are similar in principle. The fingers work inward and relax outward. For the right hand, the goal is to pull the fingers in the direction of the elbow. The motion is generated by the knuckle joint. The fingers relax back to their original position, as you can see here. In the case of the left hand, the inward and outward range is calculated. We are not imagining a long path to the elbow. We are placing our fingers at specific points on a vertical grid. The outer plane, or the sixth string, is where our fingers naturally find themselves. When we move towards the inner plane, or towards the first string, our fingers duck inward and the hand resembles a lowercase e. What parts of the fingers are in use? In contrast to the right hand finger motions, our left hand finger motions are done predominantly by the mid joints, not the knuckle joints. There are two pretty good reasons for that. First, the guitar neck obstructs our inward mobility. We move our fingers while creating space for the guitar neck. Secondly, there is accuracy. We are dealing with micro movements between strings, and it is best to relegate precise motions to smaller joints. When it comes down to it, we do not need to build otherworldly strength in our fingers. We just need dexterity. We need to create the smoothest and easiest path imaginable between the inner and outer planes. We need to build enough strength to stabilize any one finger when we apply the weight of the arm. I will be using a capo to demonstrate the following exercises on the fretboard. Guitar playing at the 7th fret generally looks good. We can easily sense where we need strength and mobility and where we can keep things relaxed. Here's an exercise. First, I jam my thumb into the back of the neck like this. There are a few good reasons for doing this. First, to deactivate my pinching muscle so that my thumb can provide a stable counterbalance. Second, I take away airspace on the thumb side and transfer that excess space to the fretboard side, giving my fingers the ability to move inward. Finally, a large portion of the thumb is on the back of the neck, and that will provide ample sensory information. I'm brushing all 6 strings, upward and downward with my fingers. This exercise will feel awkward. You will get caught up a little bit on the strings. This trains the fingers to move laterally. Your fingers will sense what it's like to work on a flat surface while generating space on the fretboard side of the hand. After sweeping, reference the 6th string with 4th fingers. Continue by referencing 5th, 4th, all the way down to the 1st string. Repeat the whole sequence. You can also try this with individual fingers or finger groups. When we play at the 7th fret, the arm hangs to the side of the body. The fingers approach the string straight on, the hand looks balanced, and the weight is well distributed. We can see how the thumb provides support and reference for the fingers. By the way, you don't need to use a cable for this exercise. Some important words about the wrist. Wrist rotation is totally fine, but prolonged deviation or wrist flexion can lead to hand problems. In these exercises, my wrist is not moving. It stays either perfectly straight or just slightly flexed. The wrist provides stability and a reference point for the hand and should not aid in the movements of fingers in any way. One big reason is accuracy. We use the smaller parts of the hand to make lateral movements. Changing the wrist position throws off our point of reference and causes more mistakes than we realize. Keep also in mind that sudden, sharp wrist motions can have a damaging effect on your hand, so avoid them. We should all spend more time trying to create dexterous, stable fingers and just let the wrist provide stability and a reference point for the hand. Each portion of the fretboard presents a unique challenge for left hand playing. When we move down to the 1st fret, our fingers approach the string at a different angle. Let's create an optimal hand position at the 1st fret, going through the checklist of information mentioned earlier. If the arm is weighted and acts most naturally, if the wrist were to stay straight with no deviation from side to side, flexion or extension, and if the hand position keeps its form, then our hand position would probably end up looking like this. This greatly resembles the way a cellist or violinist would play in first position. There is one danger that goes largely unnoticed in first position. Can you identify it in this picture? It's a problem with stabilization. The thumb and the forefinger are clamping, causing the hand position to collapse. Clamping may feel necessary in the beginning since we're learning to stabilize our shoulder and hand, but this is something we need to move from quickly. Here are some of the problems clamping creates. Keep in mind that this film is geared towards those who will play classical guitar music on a classical guitar. This may not be such a big issue for an electric guitarist or an acoustic guitarist. If you are clamping, the examples in this film will help you find a more reliable solution. When you solve this issue, your first finger will provide a stable hand position in first position. Your finger independence will increase, and the other three fingers will magically know what to do. As I mentioned before, you cannot use your eyes to monitor everything. This exercise will build your sense of referencing in the left hand and help you wean your eyes away from the fretboard. To set up, you jam your thumb into the back of the neck. The thumb sits high, it shapes itself to the curvature of the neck. Put all fingers on the sixth string. Do a couple rounds of referencing and finger brushes as was mentioned before. And now we're ready. Plant your middle finger on the sixth string, second fret. Reference all the strings with your pointer finger, from sixth string to first string and back to sixth. Notice how the finger crawls into the hand and the hand creates an E shape. The form of the hand provides the space needed to traverse the six strings without using the wrist. The fingertip approaches the string at different angles depending on the string, and always try to hit the same point on the fingertip no matter what string. Next, let's plant the pointer finger on the sixth string, first fret, and we'll see the range of motion of our middle finger. Here, I reference each of the strings. I notice how the finger crawls into the hand. The middle finger gets boxed in when it approaches the first string, but still it continues to hit the same point of the fingertip every time. You should feel a healthy stretch. Avoid any involvement with the wrist. Now, plant your first finger on the sixth string. Let's reference the ring finger and the little finger on the third fret. Once you get to the third string, let the little finger take over. This fingering may go against all sorts of logic, but is used most often in classical guitar music. Build this exercise into your technical routine and try to make it feel natural. The form of the hand should stay round, as if you were holding a ball in the palm of your hand. Feel how the fingers relate to each other. Our fingers provide ample sensory information if only we take the time to build that into our technique. Let's take a good look at what happens when the fourth finger extends outside the form of the hand. Begin with the first finger on the sixth string, first fret. Keep the first finger down and extend the little finger towards the fourth fret. Hold it for a little bit. Release the fourth finger and let the hand relax back to its original position. Stretch again. Feel the entire hand stretch along the horizontal plane. By the way, if the stretch is too much for your hand, you may have a guitar that's too big. Let's take a look at what's really happening here. Sure, your fourth finger stretches, but so does your first. The fingers fan out, but they don't claw. In reality, the outer portion of the hand reaches low, and the inner portion reaches high. I place my middle and ring fingers on the same string to help align the outer fingers. Do this exercise on each string. Observe the pointer finger. Make the movement and placement as good as you can. The wrist is inactive, no pinching between the thumb and first finger, and plenty of space to move inward. When doing this exercise, try to place the first and fourth finger on the same spot of the fingertip. Feel the stretch when extended and feel the release when it comes back to the rounded form. By the way, my first finger is still in contact with the string when I release. Try this exercise anywhere on the fretboard. I hope you found this video helpful. Tune in for more classical guitar tips and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.